Bitcoin is right now crashing. It's below $77,000 for the first time in a few days. Obviously crashed down from all the way from $82,000. We're gonna discuss this, discuss the liquidations, discuss what I think will happen next for Bitcoin. And this is a very interesting video. I've spent some time gathering the most important information. Let's get right into it. So firstly, Bitcoin, of course, we're in a bear market. We know that, right? And we're forming this rising wedge, which also I've discussed. And right now going towards the downside. The target of the rising wedge, as we know, is the bottom of the wedge, which is around about $65,000, which I am short right now, and I'm looking to close my positions around about that price range, right? And looking here, Bitcoin, of course, below $77,000, we have swept over $500 million worth of levered long positions in the last 60 minutes. These have been swept. This is, of course, once we started going down, but we have grabbed a lot of this long liquidity, which has been building up towards the downside, which I mentioned also, and I will discuss what I think will happen next. Looking here at the worldwide bond market, we can see that we are very much overinflated on the 30-year bonds, especially. This suggests, for example, the UK, right? I think so. We're the same highest level since we're in 1998, so just before the dot-com bubble, and we're at almost 6% on the 30-year bonds. So this just suggests that we have very high inflation, which we know that we have, and inflation has gone up last month compared to the month before, and therefore, of course, investors are demanding higher yields for 30-year bonds. And looking at Bitcoin here, if you compare it to the S&P 500, we can see that right now, of course. Oil. We're looking at oil compared to the S&P 500, and also Trump has discussed that Iran should, the clock is ticking for Iran, so there might be some continued escalations. I expect oil to continue to stay high, and it's very interesting because usually when oil goes up, the markets don't really go up because we have high inflation as a result of high oil prices, and the economy usually takes a dump. Same thing happened here, 2022. We had oil rising to almost the same levels as they're right now, even a bit higher, while the S&P 500 went down. But right now we have the opposite going on. Everything is pumping, and this is mainly driven by AI stocks and semiconductor stocks like Nvidia, which, fun fact, have their earnings on Wednesday. We're going to discuss this. But we can see that usually when oil tops out, the S&P finds a bottom, and therefore I also expect at some time we can see the S&P having a larger correction, but of course it's driven mostly by the AI boom at the moment, just for you guys to see this. And now looking at Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin, we had this major line of resistance, this red line, which has acted as previous resistance, and as support, which we have now confirmed a breakdown from. Now we have two levels which I'm looking at. The first level, which we have now, it looks like confirmed a breakthrough from, which was around about $77,000. The next level of support where I can expect, and we can expect a bounce to the upside from potentially, is at around about this region, around about $75,000 per Bitcoin, which has acted also as previous resistance and also here as support. So that's definitely the level that we should be looking at. But in terms of Bitcoin, we are still in a bear market. We're following the last few cycles. And what do the cycles tell us? Well, they tell us that we usually find a bottom between approximately 750 days to around about 1,050 days, like just below 1,000 days, 980 days after the halving. And this should bring us to approximately October of this year. And we can see that the 4-year cycles are still intact. I strongly believe in the 4-year cycles for Bitcoin, which are of course created by the halving events, which happen approximately every 4 years. And looking here at Bitcoin, we can see exactly the bottoms compared to the halving. So it's approximately, like I said, 900 days. We can see here, okay, the chart didn't load, but from the halving to the bottom, it took around 900 days. And then here also the cycle before that, it took approximately 900 days to find the bottom. And right now, if the same thing repeats, also according to our theory that we find the bottom approximately 365 days after the top, this would bring us to approximately October of this year. We can also see we've been rejected from the 200 simple daily moving average line, which has acted as strong resistance every single bear market. Also here, last bear market has acted as strong resistance, and the bear market before that, the line has not loaded, but I think you guys know what I mean. It has acted as strong resistance every single time in a bear market. And looking here at Bitcoin on the monthly, I just want to show you guys that it approximately takes 365 days or 12 months to find the bottom from the top of the bull market. So the first time here it took almost 400 days, but then these two times it took exactly 365 days, 365 days from the top to the bottom. And again, if this same thing repeats, we will find a bottom approximately in October of this year, which is why I am short right now, trying to find this final leg to the downside, profit from this final leg to the downside, of course. And looking at Bitcoin here, obviously we had our bear flag pattern, which is just a flag like this, which is a bear flag, and a bull flag would go the other way around, which looks like a regular flag, just for the new viewers on the channel. And right now we can see also that usually it took 23 days last time from the top to the bottom for in this downward move. We are almost at 23 days. I'm not saying that it's gonna take 23 days because there's still a lot of way to go, but what we can see is that if we go down fast usually, and don't be surprised if Bitcoin dumps very fast to the downside. That's what I'm trying to show. In terms of my position, I took a short position from $82,000, hoping to benefit from this move to the downside. Where am I going to be exiting my positions? Well, Bitcoin obviously has a target here at around $65,000 for the bottom of this rising wedge pattern. I'm going to start exiting my positions a bit earlier than that, potentially around about this level, around about $70,000. We can see there's acting as strong support, also as resistance at around this level, and also resistance here at this level. So exiting my positions around there and trying to benefit from the move to the downside, of course. And then the play is that I will be opening again long positions in a couple of months from now. The closer we get to October, then I will start opening my long positions again, trying to benefit from the next bull market run, which, let's see, these are the levels that I marked. Let me zoom out a bit to show you guys why I marked these levels. So here we go. I have marked the levels starting at around $60,000. Let's see if I take this position at the bottom here, of course, of the bear flag pattern. Let's see if I take this position, or if I will start at $57,000, which has acted as previous, you can see here, support. And then there's another level at $55,000 acting as here support, and then of course also $53,000 has acted as resistance and support. So most likely I'll enter my positions in these three lower levels, where I'm gonna start longing again the markets. And looking at the liquidity heat map, we can see that we have now basically grabbed all of the liquidity to the downside as predicted. It's essentially a liquidity sweep, just grabbing this liquidity, which is usually being grabbed for Bitcoin and in markets in general. We like to grab that liquidity, and we can see most importantly that we have still this open liquidity on the top side all the way to like $85,000, which aligns with our CME gap also. And there's this chart that I wanted to show. One sec, let me find it quickly here. So $75,000 is right, is what I said, where I think we can find a bounce from. And looking at the liquidity, I think we could find a bounce here at 75, having grabbed most of the liquidity to there, then go back up, potentially grab this liquidity, and then find a bigger move to the downside. Also looking here at the cumulative liquidity, we can see that now there's a lot of short liquidity building up. So these are everyone who's shorting right now, and the liquidity is of course above the current price. So we can see there's a lot of liquidity building up all the way to like $91,000. And previously, if we looked at the same chart, and yes, it was the 90-day chart. So let me show you the 90-day chart. Previously, if you remember, there was a lot less short liquidity leverage cumulative. So there was like, I think $1.6 billion. There was like $14 billion of long liquidity. But now this is approximately the same. So as of course, Bitcoin is going to the downside, people were longing right here, and then we went down, and now people are starting to short the market, which is also a sign that we will go in the other direction to swipe these people out of the market. So I expect us to find a bounce potentially. If not, we just continue to go down. But another thing to note is the CME gap. It's of course Monday right now. So we have formed a major CME gap this weekend, which is quite significant. I mean, we closed Friday at approximately $79,000, and we opened today on Monday at approximately $78,000. So there's over $1,000 of a gap which has formed for Bitcoin, which is now laying above us. We have gone down even further over the last couple of hours, and this is acting as a magnet. We know that the CME gaps usually tend to be filled, and this just adds to our theory that we will see a bounce, potentially going up and filling the CME gap at least, and maybe even fitting the CME gap up to $84,000, in which case I will be adding to my short positions. But I would not be surprised if we see a bounce here, like I said, $75,000. Look, I can draw it right here. We can see it's acting as support. I'm not surprised if we see a bounce from here to the top side. And to close the video, I want to discuss the key events this week. Of course, it's Monday, so let's always discuss the key events. We have tomorrow on Tuesday, the April pending home sales data coming out for the US. Then on Wednesday, this is the most important day to be looking at. We have two important news. So we have the Fed minutes of meetings, which is basically their notes for the last FOMC meeting end of April. And this will give us some more insights into potentially what will happen for future expectations for interest rates. And then we have Nvidia's earnings coming out on Wednesday, which if they're positive, I expect markets to continue to go up. But of course, Nvidia is now a top 5 company globally in terms of market cap. If these earnings are lower, this will definitely impact the market. And we know that the S&P has been booming from the AI boom. And then Thursday, we have a manufacturing index data coming out, consumer sentiment data coming out, and more consumer expectations. So this is not as important. Like I said, the most important news day is on Wednesday. And with that being said, hope you guys stay sharp, stay prepared for a dump and potentially a pump. What do you expect to happen? I always read the comments every single time. I thank you so much for your support and the many people that support the channel. It really makes my day. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.